Welcome to Seek and Surrender on Awakening Airwaves. I'm Kay.
And I'm Rosalyn. We're exploring energy healing, spirituality, and what it means to grow without the pressure of having it all together.
We're here to share the journey, the questions, and the breakthroughs, and hopefully some laughs too.
Hang with us along the way. All right, here we are. This is episode 1 of Seek and Surrender. We're going to touch on today just kind of introducing ourselves and talking through some of the things you might have heard in our interview with Yolanda that she'll be posting as well. So hopefully we won't repeat ourselves too much. But how are you, Kay? Tell me who you are.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to go deeper too in this one.
Yeah.
They kind of just got the surface in that interview, but now's our chance to kind of go deeper.
Yeah.
I'm Kay. I am a Reiki practitioner. I've newly studied Reiki more recently, and for work I do video and social media for brands. I try to integrate the work I do energetically into my profession. So
yeah, that's awesome. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
I'm Rosalyn. I'm also a Reiki practitioner. I have been doing this work for a little while, but getting more focused on like what I'm offering and narrowing things down and all that fun stuff of the wide array of energy healing and what that can be. My day job is in marketing and advertising. So that's a fun world to be in compared to this, but same thing, like just trying to bring energy healing to the day to day. So I guess we can kind of go back to what we introduced with Yolanda and talk about how we got into this work, energy healing, Reiki, whatever was like the touchstone that got it all started. So what was that for you?
For me, it was just like curiosity, and I feel like it goes hand in hand too with the title of this podcast, Seek and Surrender. I feel like the seek part is, the curiosity, it's what gets the ball rolling. And for me, that was meditation. And then starting that, I just saw the benefits of that work, and I got into like intuitive teachings and learning how to work with my own energy. And that was just a whole new world for me that was super exciting. And it's kind of like once you enter that world, you can't really go back. So I continued learning and still am today.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that because I feel like you come out of a box, right? It's like you exit the box of how you knew yourself, and then you can never fit back in the box. And I feel like the more I do this work, the more it's like, well, there's the lid off of another box, and I can't go back to that box. I'm feeling that a lot right now, actually, too. I'm like, I think I've exited a box. Like, it's almost like a little hermit crab with a shell. Like I've left my shell behind.
A great visual metaphor.
Yeah. For me, in terms of like how I got to this work, and I kind of talked about this with Yolanda, but I was really, really anxious and scared of like being in the world. And I wasn't always like that. I mean, I had anxiety as a kid without really understanding what it was. I went to a high school that was like health focused, and I very quickly learned like it's for students that were like interested in maybe going to medical school. So it kind of gave them like a leg up in getting to that point. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to do anything in the medical field, which obviously I did not get to that point. But I found out very quickly that like blood grossed me out, surgeries grossed me out, like anything health related, I was like instantly anxious. And so in high school, I was like, I remember there's this one day that we were watching a video of a gallbladder getting removed, and I like whited out. Like I couldn't see. I passed out on my desk. I was like, I am not okay. I had to go to the nurse. It was so embarrassing, like devastating, mortifying of like this girl passes out from a video in class. But that's when anxiety really started, because it was like once I knew what it felt like when I was about to pass out, or like when I was about to have like a panic attack or something, then you're like, oh, is this going to happen here? Is it going to happen here? You're like peeking around the corner like, oh shoot, like am I what if that triggers me? What if that, whatever.
Anxiety about the anxiety.
Yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. So, yeah, I spent several years trying to deal with that and found yoga, found meditation, which meditation had kind of been introduced to me at a young age, but I didn't know that's what it was. And yeah, just everything kind of snowballed into finding Reiki and wanting to learn and then help other people with the same things. So that's kind of how I got into the work. Was there anything that you remember, like any instance from back in the day of like, oh, I need to like, I know you said it was curiosity, but like
Mm-hmm.
what helped you pursue it? Is there any instance you can think of?
I feel like, I mean, this was my early 20s, and I feel like energy work and like metaphysics was just kind of kicking off in the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the time too. So there was a lot more published. There's a lot on YouTube, not nearly as much as there is now, but that curiosity was just kind of fed with all of those resources and
Mm-hmm.
books and everything, and that just, yeah, it just snowballed. So it made it easier too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I feel like too, now that we have like social media where we're like constantly seeing these things and it just gets fed and fed and fed more to you, which when
Hmm.
it's positive stuff is it's a good thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
That's so funny. Okay. So I guess we can kind of move on to why we chose the name that we did. We had lots of iterations, but is there anything you want to say about the name?
Man, it was tough to pick. There's a lot of pressure, it should be like it's the first thing you think about when starting a podcast. And it's just like breaking everything down to its most simplest form of like what the essence of the show is. That proved to be pretty difficult. So um but I'm really happy with what we've picked, and it just feels right and it makes sense. The seeking and surrendering, even how we picked the name. It was like we um looked for a while and then just surrendered, and
Hmm.
it's a beautiful name.
Yeah, there were a lot of fun names that we had.
Hmm.
'Cause then it's like, what do you want to lean into, right? It's like, how do you, like you said, how do you deduce down an entire big grand idea into like a word or two to like
Hmm.
encompass it all?
What was the
But
first one? The first title we was like,
we had spiritual-ish. That
yeah,
was on
that was
the
a funny one.
list. That
Hmm.
was more on the fun side. We
Yeah.
had uh
Becoming, unbecoming.
yeah, unbecoming, yeah. Which it's like we kind of kept pointing ourselves all to the same direction. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
just the theme of what the journey through spirituality is what I love about how Seek and Surrender comes across is
Hmm.
it's like you're always exploring, you're always looking for ways to learn about either general things in spirituality or Reiki or whatever, or about yourself. And then yeah, it's like kind of like kind of like the hermit crab in the shell. Like at some point you have to surrender to letting go and letting the next phase come and letting the new perspectives come. And I feel like that's all what this journey through spirituality is a constant uh, learning, letting go, learning, letting go.
100%. Hmm. Just a cycle. Hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yes, so that is our lovely name, and I think we're very happy with where it landed.
Hmm.
Um, so just to kind of talk through a little bit more about our journeys with spirituality, we kind of came up with some ideas of what we could bring up in this kind of intro episode as we kind of let people know a little bit more about ourselves. So, um, for you, Kay, what was a time where energy work really worked for you? Like when you really realized it and you were like, oh, this is the thing.
um for me, it was when I first started meditating. It was like the synchronicities. Like at first I would just blame them on chance or something. You see 1111 or the same numbers repeating all the time. But it's like I didn't really need it to be proved to me that it works. But I was on a walk one day after work, and it was a pretty long and stressful day, and I was just like, if this stuff works, if it's real, like give me a sign, And I didn't know what I was expecting, and I looked at my phone, and it was a time. I'll just say 2:15. I don't remember the exact time. Um, and I just glanced up at the house I was passing, and the address, it said 2:15, and
Oh,
I was just
cool.
like, whoa, like that was like I mean, you couldn't get a more clear sign than that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like that experience. Um, it's not even something you want to share with anyone because you sound weird, and it's like, what are you talking about? So, but it was validating for myself, just to ask and to be so bluntly answered. Um, that's when I knew I mean, I knew before, but that's just really when it solidified for me that like, okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah. I love
Hmm.
that you bring that up because that was one of my like apprehensive thoughts even about this podcast is like this work can like when people call like energy healing and everything woo woo, like there's a reason that they call it woo woo, even though
Hmm.
it's kind of like tongue in cheek, but it's like, no, like some of this stuff is bizarre. Like some of this stuff, like synchronicities or meditations or thing energies that you work with, or all of that stuff. It's like, yeah, it can be like, do I want to share? I'm not sure. Like I don't want to be labeled as weird or crazy or whatever. But like you said, like you start to see the signs around you. You start to see how things align, and it's like undeniable of what's happening. Like even when I guess it was probably like the first numerology class that I took when we were talking about like repeating numbers. And it was like after that class, it was like if on a certain day I saw like 1111, 222, 33, like I'm like, okay, I look at clocks all the time. Why is it that I'm only looking at these times? Like just little things like that. It is funny and quirky how this work shows you what it is. I'm trying to think of like what may I have specifically like encountered, but I think it's just kind of those small moments of um just being reminded that you're supported in your path of self understanding. And I love being like out in nature and some of the things that like some of the experiences that I've had where I'm like, "Oh, I think this is a sign." Is like I remember I was on this walk once and I love to go walk on a certain trail and it's very like cathartic for me. And so if I've ever had like, a difficult day or intense emotions or trying to process something, it's like I'll go walk and things just kind of move without me having to try, which is what I love about like just moving the body, which we will definitely talk about at a certain later date. Um, but things like here in South Texas, we have what are called turkey vultures. They're not very pretty, but they are just really prominent in my area where I live, and sometimes I'll see them when I'm walking, and they've kind of become a sort of like spirit animal for me. And so, like on that really rough day, I was out walking, and there was this one, and it was like it because vultures they're like circle to kind of see where they can find things to eat, scavenge, whatever. And this one just kept circling me, and I was like, I am not food for you. Like, I don't know why you're hanging out with me right now. And he just stayed for like half the walk, just followed with me, got really low. But it's just kind of like things like that where is it some grand, huge message from the universe? I'm not sure. But at least it was something that like got my attention and was like, hey, there's something higher here that's supporting you or we're there with you or whatever. But yeah, super cool things like that you just kind of start to pay attention to, which is makes it all fun. Some of our other talking points, I don't know if you have any examples of when something was like too aligned to ignore or any like spiritual epiphanies that you've had where you feel like something's clicked in your understanding?
Hmm. The synchronicity is definitely one, but I think something else too. It's like when people experience deja vu,
Mm,
um, it's kind of like you don't really know where you've heard or seen this experience before. But for me, it was like I knew where it came from. So I would have these meditations that were like visual of something random happening. It wasn't like super clear, but there was just like a piece of it that might have been clear. And then like weeks later, I'll be doing something, um, and I'll be like, oh, so this is where I was in that
hmm,
meditation, you know?
that's
So
so cool.
that's happened a few times. And then also sometimes in meditation, things will come like epiphanies. Um, and sometimes the answer to something that you're dealing with is so like painfully simple, you know? I remember when a couple years ago when I quit my job of 7 years to start my own business, I was pretty terrified, you know, and
Yeah.
I didn't know the answers, you know, didn't have everything all figured out, but I was in a meditation and something came to me saying that like fear is something that's made up, you know, like
Mm,
unless something's truly threatening your life, it's like, what is there really to be afraid of? And I kind of just surrendered into that thought and it was just like, whoa, like I just figured everything in my life out. Like I'm awakened, you know, I've
yeah.
um, but it's just so simple, you know, and
Hmm.
I think you have to be in the right place in your life to hear certain things because it's like if I heard that in a meditation maybe 3 years before that, it wouldn't have meant anything to me.
Yeah.
But where I was in my life with what I had going on, hearing it then, it's like, okay, it means something now, you know?
Yeah. I think that's
Hmm.
such a profound thing to realize is like, especially once you start doing this type of work and you do guided meditations and you do classes or whatever, yeah, certain things come up and you're like, yeah, that all makes sense. Like, I get it. But
Hmm.
it's not until you're in the right space where you hear that same phrase or something and you're like, oh, this is what this means. But when you said that, I thought of that line. I think it's from like Dune, where they say fear is the mind killer.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yes, yes, definitely. Because I mean, I deal with that all the time. And then that reminds me of what we were talking about with Yolanda about your manifesting. And we will definitely talk about that again because I
Fun
even
stuff.
I'm like, I need tips. I need tricks to understand, how to be in the, because I think, I mean, I'm doing better with like self doubt or fear, but like it's tough. Your brain
Hmm.
is so hardwired to be in fight or flight or, where's the threat,
Hmm.
like you said. But yeah, like in our modern day, it's not like we're getting chased around by lions or, like anything like that.
Yeah, we have a lot of like collective fears that we just agree on that that's
Hmm.
something we should worry about or be afraid of. Um, so it's just all made up.
It is all made up.
Hmm.
But then again, that just shows how brilliant our brains are that like we can trick ourselves into thinking like you're about to die right now. Like you need to be scared right now or whatever. Don't
Yeah,
click that button to open that business online,
right.
whatever. Um I was trying to think of like spiritual epiphanies for myself, but I just kind of thought to like my lesson that I've really been dealing with this year, which is like we're so hardwired of like I needed to get from point A to point B and I need to be at point B yesterday. Like it's
Hmm.
just that's just the way that our brains are. But I feel like this year has been such a big lesson of like, no, you're in the in between. Like you're in the transition and that's the lesson and that's okay. And like um that's just where you are. And I think that's also really brought up ideas of like self-doubt and everything because it's like I know where point B is. I know what I would like it to be. And I think I know how to get there. But all the signs from like my, internal compass, my spiritual guidance, everything is saying like not yet. And so it's like this really big lesson of like, okay, I guess I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to trust that the work that I've done gives me the confidence to know that when the moment is right, like I will take the steps or it will all become clear and all that. So I think that as even though there are so many tools within this work that are like predictive or um, really deep in giving you clarity on your path, like there are also times where it's like, no, you're just gonna kind of sit in it. And that's gonna be the lesson of like patience and not being in control and letting go and just knowing that when, you know, the universe is done lining everything up in like the unseen, everything will click and you'll know when the next step is.
Talk about seek
Um,
and surrender.
yeah, for real.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm sure we will get into a lot of these topics more as we go along. And I guess I would just encourage anybody listening or watching, if there's something that, you know, interests you that you are curious about, like let us know and we'll kind of dive into those topics. And I guess that kind of brings us to a nice spot if we want to talk about like what we hope this show will be for people and for us. Like what kind
Mhm.
of things come to mind for you with that?
Yeah, I think in this realm, like talking about energy, I feel like sometimes there's this pressure of like, oh, I feel like maybe this subject is saturated or a lot of people have already covered this. But I feel like that's the beauty in what we were just talking about too. It's like sometimes you have to be in the right space to hear something and actually hear it. So, I mean, us talking and just talking about our experiences, like someone listening is probably in was called to press play and is in the right space to hear what we're saying. So, um, I just hope that our words land and maybe help someone
Yeah,
spiritually or Mhm.
definitely. And I feel like too, like we know we're all connected in this like collective soup of
Mhm.
energy, but it's like every contribution matters
Mhm.
and is meant for the people that find it, like you were saying. And I just love the idea of this show being something where we can basically talk about like any and all topics within the realm of spirituality and energy healing and all of that. Just because it's so fascinating. Like everything that I've stumbled upon, I'm like, oh wow, this is so cool. And whether or not it like stays in my realm of what I use, it's like just neat to explore and go there.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think we do have a bit of unique views of things just from where we are in our age, where what we've, you know, done in the real world in terms of like work and yeah, just how we've lived our little tiny specks of life so far. And I feel like it's just nice to open the conversation. So, yeah, if there's anything people would like to hear about, let us know and we will love to share.
Mhm.
Um, so, one of the things that we also kind of have been brainstorming in terms of our show, our different little segments within it, um, we want to do things that are relatable and fun and touch on this work. So, you want to describe a couple of our ideas for
Yeah,
our
sure.
listeners?
So we had a lot of fun stuff planned, but we're thinking like uh, using Oracle and Tarot, incorporating that into the show and pulling cards. Also, like responding to things that we see that are either funny or interesting online that are related to energy. There's so much stuff out there that's just very shareable and relatable to kind of like kick off conversations. Um, yeah, and also taking ideas from you guys if you guys have anything interesting or that you want us to dive deeper into, or maybe that you hear that we should dive deeper into. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited because Oracle and I recently really started trying to like study tarot because it's such a different language than
Hmm.
like it's its whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was very intimidated for a while, but I felt recently pulled to like try to understand it better.
Yeah.
But yeah, Oracle and Tarot is so like really near and dear to my heart. It's just a way that I really love working with energy. And sometimes when you are in those moments of like being too in your head or even just being too close to the situation that you're trying to work through, it kind of gives you that zoomed out, you know, what's the actual energy in this situation. So I'm excited to bring that in just because I just love it as a tool. I just think it's really fun. And yeah, any fun things we pull from like Instagram or something. I always see like the goofiest like reels that people come up with about like energy healing and spirituality, and they're just funny. And I think it's one of those things that like we all know social media can be like a dark negative place when you get into like doom scrolling and, you know, getting stuck on there, but there's also a lot of fun and uplifting things that I think just make this work less serious because we're not meant to be like little monks in our day to day, like stuck in the
True.
daily grind of monk life, you know? So I think it'll just be fun to lighten the mood a little bit. But in working with that, we did want to pull a card that we felt like really speaks to our show and our journey. And it was from Yolanda's Oracle deck. Um, so I don't know if we want
Do
to
you have the
talk about
card in
it
front of you?
first. I do have it in front of
Do
me.
you want to describe it, like what the artwork is?
Yeah, I'll show it here for a second too. It's the Seeker card. And it just felt so appropriate as we like jumped off into this new journey. But yeah, we have this individual sitting on a bed, messy bed, which I appreciate because who makes their bed every day? But yeah, just sitting there in isolation and in a tone of kind of um, thinking or pondering about, you know, whatever might be on their mind. They have their red bag tied up at the foot of the bed, which I love too, because that always feels like to me when I'm pulling this card, if it comes up for me, I'm like, is that all my tools or is that all my baggage that I'm either taking with me or leaving behind as I like move forward? And in the distance, we see pyramids, which to me always read as like, you know, higher knowledge, adventure, new destinations, and we see all the elements and two keys above in the sky. So pulling in all of the elements of work and everything. So this card was just a fun way to pull and get into the energy of this show because I think it's us. We're pondering there in the bed. We're coming up with ideas. We're about to, you know, get dressed, get ready to go. But yeah, what does this card mean for you?
I think at first I do see the alignment with like the journey and the getting started of the podcast, but also I realize like it really, really speaks to our title too, like
Mm-hmm.
even it being called The Seeker. Like, and I just want to read the last paragraph in Yolanda's book, the guidebook, for this card.
Yeah,
It says, Seeker, there is an unchangeable aspect at the core of all beings that wants to be known. You are encoded with the infinite. Have the audacity to reveal true nature, releasing attachment to what you thought you knew. Wipe the sleep from your eyes. You are waking to the process of spiritual alchemy, uplifting all aspects into being, into expression of true nature. So,
that's awesome.
yeah, I think it's really aligns and talks about not being afraid to be curious and to kind of see what's in that next box, like you were saying, you know, like starting that cycle of
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah. I love the way she said having the audacity to see true nature
Hmm.
because it is it's like
Good stuff.
you've you have to have the courage to look at it all or
Hmm.
you're not going to get the message. Like
Hmm.
you're just not, and it takes some bravery to say, yeah, I'm going to look at my shadows. I'm going to look at the negative aspects or the difficult things of who I am, and I'm going to have to make a choice if I'm going to get out of that bed and get out of that, you know, mindset and say, nope, I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to move forward. So
Yeah.
yeah, what a fun fun card to relate to all this. But yeah, anything else that you want to touch on before we sayonara for our first?
Yeah, I will say too, just speaking more on that card and taking journeys and risks and being curious. Like even for this podcast, when Yolanda asked if we wanted to like be on here, there was like a slight hesitation, but then I said yes, because I wanted to do something that was outside of my comfort zone and that made me a little nervous because that's how we grow. And I thought it was valuable to, share my experience. I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning, still very curious. And just sharing that with other people, and hopefully inspiring someone else to be just as curious or start their own practice.
Yeah, definitely. It's like just a testament to you can do the thing that you think you would never do or that would be so outside of your norm. I think what was funny, we talked about earlier of like, when was a situation that felt like really aligned or you felt like you had to do it? When Yolanda asked, I was like, there was no other answer but yes. Like it was just one of those moments where it was just like, oh, like this is a thing. This is what I'm gonna have to do. Like this is the thing that's coming next. And yeah, the answer is yes. There's no other answer for this. But yeah, we're just so excited and we hope you'll stick around with us and get involved and, follow Awakening Airwaves on social and YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And yeah, we're just excited. So that's us for our intro episode for y'all. We'll be back month to month. I guess we can say we'll be published the second Wednesday. Our shows will go live the second Wednesday of every month. So stay tuned for that. More episodes of Seek and Surrender. And yeah, let us know what you want to hear and we'll see y'all soon.
I was trying so hard not to laugh about your turkey vulture thing.
You should have. Then the other day I was having a pretty rough day, just very emotional. And I was on a walk and I came across a dead one on the ground and I was like, universe, what kind of jokes are you putting on me? Like,
oh no,
these guys are supposed to be my little, spirit guide now, and you're going to make me come across a dead one? Like,